Welcome to Igniting Change, Finding Your Fire, a weekly podcast with Meena Puri, an Ayurvedic practitioner and spiritual teacher who brings the ancient, time-tested wisdom of Ayurveda in this time of great upheaval and global ascension to inspire you to the next level of your spiritual evolution. She will discuss all topics related to your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you ready to be free of all suffering and soar to your heart's calling? Hello, everyone. I am Meena Puri, your host. And this is such a wonderful time. This whole year, my topic and focus is going to be the transformation, of course, the ascension. And in this time, we are redefining, or rather refining, how we think about everything. And one of the biggest things that we are thinking about is what love means. And I hope you're excited about the show today. What I am excited about is this 1 year long spiritual mentorship program that I have created. The link to that would be below. Please feel free to check it out. So what I'm really excited about is to have introduce you to this my great guest, Trish Campbell. Trish is an artist. She is recently become author. She's a Reiki master and transformational coach. And the title of her book is Love Me. So Trish, welcome to the show.
Hi, Meena. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk with you.
I know this is going to be awesome. So, I read your book.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting, unlike any other book that I have read, because it was a combination of poetry and text.
Mm-hmm.
It really was, the book was written in such an authentic way that I felt like through the book, even if I didn't know you, that I could see you. I could hear you. I could see your heart. So, can you tell the audience a little bit about the book that you've written?
Sure. I love that, everything you just said. So the book, Love Me, subtitle is Awakening to Healing, Self-Love, and Liberation. And that is really the journey. And that journey began at the end of a relationship that I was in. And I really wanted to take a look at my part in that ending and realize that there was a pattern of how I was showing up in my relationships or in dynamics with people. And there was a pattern, and I wanted to explore that and go deeper because I wanted to not keep living that same story where I had realized I was shaving off parts of myself to fit in wherever that was, whether it was in a romantic relationship or in family or in the workplace. So I took that journey back to connect the dots in my childhood and where my wounds were and uncovered a lot there, and then realized it came to an understanding of how that happened, and
Mhm.
then healing a lot of those layers of wounds, as you know, because you do the healing work with so many that it's always ongoing and there's always more to look at in different perspectives. So that is really the journey. The message is about that journey, and I wanted to share it in the most authentic way. So it started with processing the pain, and poetry was that channel for me and that tool for healing. It just flowed out naturally. And once I had a collection, I thought, I'm going to put this in a book. I'd always wanted to publish a book back when I
Mhm.
was a teenager. So that's where it began. And then I wanted to put context around that. So
Yeah,
really
it's
created a piece of art with the book.
it's so wonderful. You said something. The word that you used is shaving off parts of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's something that most of us can relate to. And I would
Yeah.
just, my appointment prior to coming to this show was with, one of my clients is, we were talking about, I mentioned something about like the adjustments, or you can call it abuse. It's very subtle. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not even abuse. I want to kind of broaden the term of abuse because abuse itself is a very triggering word. So I want to tell the audience that I'm just kind of using abuse in the sense of misuse.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be covering topics of, the abuse, which is, you know, on a major level. But for the purposes of this conversation, we we misuse because we misuse our own inner knowing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very subtle. When the environment around us changes, we very subtly adapt to it.
Right. It is subtle. You do
It's
that's
subtle. And we
that's
don't realize that it's happening unless
mm-hmm.
someone was to see us from and the outsider, a contrast between, you were like this a year ago. What happened to you within a year?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so subtle, it's so small increments that we don't see it. We continuously are adapting to the environment. And the same thing that has happened around this pandemic time, people they were continuing to adapt, and then we have to wake up and realize that,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, life has like I thought, if we continue to adapt, soon we're going to find ourselves inside a closet
Right.
and say, what happened to my life?
What
So
happened? Yeah.
what happened to my life? So literally, this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We shave off parts of ourselves to fit into this small version of ourselves, and it's a survival mechanism that is built in. And it's a built-in, it's a very sophisticated mechanism that keeps us safe, but it
Mm-hmm.
keeps us safe even when we are not threatened.
Right. Because we feel like we are, but it's
Yeah.
interesting what the path that we're going down. I feel like we tell ourselves stories within the story that we're in. We tell ourselves the story to keep ourselves safe. Like I'll only make this concession just for this one time, and gradually, like you said, it's a subtle process of disconnecting from who we are at our
Mhm.
core. And that is what I came to realize. I realized I was checking boxes, and we society and the reason why I shared my story in the way that I did and vulnerably, because I know everybody can relate in some way to their own um, path of kind of coming disconnected if they're wanting to go there and um, to heal and to grow and evolve.
Mhm.
There's everyone I think can relate at some point, whether their experiences are different. I guess the experience is the same, the stories are different. I don't know how better to say that, but I think you know what I mean.
I do.
It's all relative to what we're going through, and it does happen so subtly. And what I realized that I was always worried about checking everyone else's box but my own, and then that's why I wanted to make that change to do something
Yeah, it's such
differently.
your story is so powerful. It's powerful because you share things that many of us shy away from sharing
Mhm.
because, there's shame around that.
There is
There's
shame.
shame
Yeah.
around being wounded,
Mm-hmm.
right? But this is exactly the transformation we are going through.
Mm-hmm.
We are we are letting go of the shame-based mindset, the shame-based conditioning. And the
Yes.
truth is what you have gone through, your journey is going to speak to millions.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a person who is not going to understand your journey because we see ourselves in your journey. Our journeys is the same. Our
Right.
stories are different. So it's a connection that you're providing to people with your book, to themselves. And the second is, the vulnerability behind the strength and the masks. No pun intended.
Right.
Actually, pun intended.
It's yeah.
we hide. We hide.
We do. We do.
We hide behind, and we dare not let anybody in.
But why do we hide? And that's why I went down
Yeah.
this path, because we feel we're socialized and conditioned to fit into a system, to show up a certain way and to be a certain way, and that shame and well, shame and guilt, but the shame more so is a way to control our way of being, and so it's disempowering. So unraveling all of that and releasing that and going to the root of that is giving us back, reclaiming our power, because we
Exactly,
all have
exactly.
that.
So
And
it's
so,
really, yeah, the vulnerability is our ultimate shield,
yes,
right? That's the truth, and truth shall set you free. Once you kind of connect with your own humanity,
right,
and then there's nothing, there's no danger out there,
right,
right?
and
So this is the time that we're going through where we are buying ourselves out of the bill of goods that we were sold, like,
right.
shame, blame, guilt, they all kind of run in together.
That's such a good way to
And
put it. Yeah.
let's just, we were sold a bill of goods that inherently you're broken.
Hmm.
So you spend your entire lifetime trying to fix yourself. It's kind of like chasing yourself, chasing your tail. There's no fixing, because the truth is there's no brokenness.
Right.
You're fixing something that doesn't need to be fixed. So that's what we are. This is ascension. This is
Hmm.
the new world. We're moving into time where shame, blame, guilt, they're just not part of the vocabulary.
Right.
What's part of the vocabulary is love. And that's what
Right.
your book is, Love Me. So tell me how you came to that title.
That title, well, it's interesting. Since the beginning, that was the title. And it just came to me because my story was always I wanted to be loved. I wanted to feel loved. And so, love me in the beginning is a sort of plea to love me.
Yeah,
But through
please
the
love me.
process, like, please, yes, like, love me, please, like a begging, a plea. And then the, the journey that I went on, the transformation, it becomes a declaration that I love me. It was really a journey of love, of finding love for myself, and really going, taking, being vulnerable enough to face my own truths. That sometimes, like, that's, I think, a lot of times why we want to just keep going in the way that we're going, and not, um, kind of take a closer look at moving away from that bill of goods that we were sold, like you put
Hmm.
so beautifully, because it's easier sometimes just to stay where we are, and we can convince ourselves that we're okay there, but we know we're not okay when we're in continuous patterns of relationships, when we're in toxic patterns, when we're in dynamics that aren't healthy. So there's two parts to that, and we can try to escape that, or and blame the other person, or we can look at our part in that. And that's what I really wanted to do, and really uncover and get to the root of what it all is. Like, there's that shame factor, but there's
Hmm.
also the perfection factor, and we live in this myth of perfection, that we have
Hmm.
to be perfect, and it's another way to keep us down, and we are not meant
It
to
is
be.
because, yeah, you set a standard that nowhere to be found. So I
Right.
always
We're always
jokingly,
chasing that.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's actually a thing now. I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah. And that's, you know what? Probably everyone is, because
Yeah,
that is the way that we're raised in the same
yeah,
society and culture. And so that's part of it. But I even talk about that in the book, that it's, our imperfection is where we find love for ourselves. And that was my process of embracing the parts that I thought, because they weren't perfect according to what society's standards were of myself, that I embrace those parts. I embrace my imperfections, my quirks, everything about me. That's We all have our unique ways of being, and that's what is so beautiful, and that is
yeah,
part of our human experience. Like you said, we think we're broken, and we're not broken, but we're broken. The systems and structures want us to believe that we are, so that we
yeah.
stay where we're at, so we don't rise above into our sovereignty, and to in ascension, and to our higher self. So that is, you were constantly trying to fix, like the latest greatest
Fix,
new
fix,
fix.
fix. And
Yeah.
not every crack needs to be sealed.
Right.
That's how the light comes in. I
Yeah.
think that's Rumi's quote. And
Right.
I get many times, clients who are just picking at every little symptom, and some of the things I just this is the analogy I give them. I go, every little place where there's a scratch on the wall doesn't mean you need to repaint it.
Right.
Let
That's
it be.
beautiful. Yeah.
Let it be. Let the life live. And there are two things that you said. One is that, the level of comfort. We get
Mhm.
comfortable in that subtle adaptation. We
Right.
are comfortable. But,
Hmm.
when the world that we are moving in, comfort is not the purpose. I know comfort is
Right.
kind of very seductive. It's like it's nice, but it's about awakening.
Hmm.
And we have to find comfort in that which is uncomfortable. We have to find comfort in a questioned life. We can't
Right.
continue to live. An unquestioned life is we are asleep to life.
Right.
We begin to question life, question everything. We wake up. It's an awakened life. And it's not always comfortable. But remember, comfortable is not the purpose. At least I don't think. If it is
No.
yours, that's fine. But staying asleep and being comfortable is not the purpose. Purpose is to wake up to your full potential
Right.
human being, because our world needs people who are awake.
Right. And
Look
we,
what happened with the people who were sleeping.
yeah.
Somebody took advantage of it. That's where the whole control, fear mongering is coming out, because we were asleep. We weren't
Right.
looking.
Yeah.
We
And
need
the
to open our eyes and look.
yeah, and the comfort is a false sense of comfort. We think
It
we're
is.
comfortable, but that can be taken away at any moment. We know this
Yeah.
about life. So the we have so much potential, and it's almost Marianne Williamson has a quote, our greatest fear is our the potential that we have. That's
Potential
not,
we have
I'm
that we may, or that we
paraphrasing, but
actually may win.
that we
Yeah.
yeah that we may actually succeed, and
Yeah.
because it that involves being in the unknown. And the last 4 years at least of my life have been the most unknown territory that I've been in my entire life. And according to our structures and systems of society, it would look like, very unstable, but it has been the happiest and most fulfilling time of my life, because I'm reaching for that potential, whether it's
Yeah.
like in leaps and bounds or baby steps. I'm exploring and discovering who I am, and not shaving off parts of myself anymore, and just showing up unapologetically and
Taking up a little bit more space.
taking up a little bit more space. Exactly. And I think I invite everyone to, like, that's why I wrote the book and want to share my story in this way, because in the vulnerable way, so that, people will say, I'm not alone. Like, it might be slightly different, but she's talking about me too. And I want to explore that. So people have said, reading the book, that, they're taking their time with it, because it evokes emotion and
Yeah.
really reflection. And that was what I was hoping for in
It's
sharing
to
it the
stir
way that
people
I did.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, to stir people up. And sometimes there's things that we might not want to feel, or like reflect on about ourselves, but that is the place where we need to explore the most. Then
Exactly.
I feel
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah.
Knowing you, I have known Trish for a little while now. We're kindred spirits, and
Mhm.
she is really a true embodiment of everything she says.
Mhm.
Your vulnerability is beautiful, and your book, every page, every word of your book is you. It speaks to the heart. It spoke to my heart,
Mhm.
and I think it's going to speak to the heart of so many. And you know what I love? I mean, did you guys, if you see her background, some of the work, the paintings, this is her work. She's an artist. She's an
Oh, yeah.
artist, and she's also a Reiki master. And so
Mhm.
she has just really combined so many of her God given gifts into this one product, a book to present to you, fully, authentically her life from inside out.
Yeah.
And I think this is so inspirational. It's just so wonderful of you. You know how sometimes quietly we change the world?
Mhm.
I think by sharing your story quietly,
Yeah.
you change the world, because it's going to motivate so many people to do the same. And I also love how you arrived at please love me
Mhm.
to I love me.
Yeah. It's a declaration, and
It's a
it's a
declaration. Yeah.
confident declaration. And yeah, it's all of the art, the art, the poetry, all of that was part of the process of loving myself. So
Yeah.
that's also the invitation with this book for the reader. And what I'm hearing too is people are like, you've inspired me to write poetry, and I've always wanted to write, and now I'm inspired to. And it's like, that is the that is the little nudge that I hope to
Yeah.
bring with
I
this
think
message.
you're creating that change. And
Yeah,
also, many times we think a book has to be a certain way.
right.
We think that, how does this fit in with that? It's
Hmm.
just, human beings, we inherently are equipped to connect and to understand each other's language
Hmm.
far more than just words alone,
Right.
through song, through dance, through art, through
Yeah.
painting. And so it just is an invitation for people to bring out their own creativity
Hmm.
and expressing themselves through their creativity. And also, creativity is a way for you to get to know parts of you that may be
Exactly.
hidden.
Right.
You don't know what's hiding behind when you pick up that pen and you start writing. You don't know what's going to flow. You don't know when you take the mic to your mouth and you actually start singing or saying something, how you're going to unleash your own inner voice,
Right.
right? And that's what you have shown, um, in the book. So
Yeah, it really, the creativity is a channel to our spirit and to our soul, and that's the
mhm.
expression. And so it's different for everybody. And that's what I accepted, was that invitation to discover myself again and come back to the things that I enjoyed growing up, but kind of put to the side because I had to produce and show up and check the boxes and all of that. And that, I mean, I'm so grateful for that journey. Sometimes the grief is painful, but
Yeah,
there's so
but
many
again,
inside of
what's
it.
what's a life lived with the unquestioned life,
Yeah.
where our heart isn't broken open, where we haven't shed a few tears, where we haven't
Yes.
come home to ourselves again and again and again. Without that, what kind of a life are we living? We're asleep. We're not
Right.
even alive. So, um, yeah, so I think anybody who's watching, you're inspiring them to, intriguing them to, what is this book all about? So where can people find your book?
People can find my book on my website. This is trishcampbell.com. You can find
You
all
have
of
a copy with you that you can
I do.
show? Yeah,
Yes.
please
Good
show.
good
Yeah.
idea. Well, there's one behind me. I don't know if that's
Okay,
showing in the frame, but there's
good. So
this.
that's the book, Love Me. Yeah.
Awakening to Healing, Self-Love, and Liberation. So this is trishcampbell.com if you want a signed copy, or amazon.com.ca. Worldwide, it's on Amazon now, and Barnes and Noble in the US. You can order it at your local bookstore as well. It's in the system. So
That's wonderful. So, I do have one more question. So, you have you have really opened yourself up, completely vulnerable.
mhm.
How is the journey? You have included many, your family members. How has the journey, now that you have put everything out on the table? It can't be as easy, right? So,
Right.
how are you now? Once there was a journey of you arriving to write the book, now the book
Mhm.
is out. It's,
Yeah.
everything is now out. How are you feeling now?
Now it feels like I feel like this story that I wrote isn't my story anymore. It was my story, and I
Yeah,
feel I'm writing a new one. It really feels like a birth. When I launched this book, it felt like a birth, and now right after that I was in a period of restoration, and I'm coming out of that, and now it's my everything has shifted, and it's a completely new space and
you're a
completely
different person.
open.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a different person.
the book has changed you.
It has changed me. And the book, getting it out there and editing and all, like, that was a healing process in and of
Yeah,
itself. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm a completely different
It's
person
just
now because
beautiful.
of
And
it.
I
Yeah.
think, like, the whole concept of love me, I will do another few episodes on love because we can't talk enough about it.
Right.
It's the most misused, most used, most misunderstood, most chased after feeling. And, we keep chasing it because the search can't be over because we haven't found it.
Right. And I think we haven't found it because we're looking outside
We're
of
looking in
ourselves.
the wrong direction. So
it's inside of ourselves.
Exactly. So that's where we start. So I think, if you are listening to our conversation, I hope that this conversation has inspired you to get in touch with your own creativity. There's a story in each one of us. And our vulnerability is our ability to share the story, to own our wounds. And
Right.
that's actually our ultimate therapy.
It
And
is
there's a process, that's the
sharing their
ultimate
story.
therapy and ultimate strength. So I hope that she has inspired you to do that. And if you are inspired, then go ahead and share this with other people who might get the same inspiration. And check out Trish's new book, Love Me. Who knows what's in store, what other book she would be writing.
Yeah,
And
there's more to come.
she really has blended so much of her creativity in one final production of this book, Love Me. It's been knowing you, I know it's been a labor of love for a long time. So I couldn't be happier for you. So go ahead and check out her book. And Trish, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time, for
Thank
coming
you.
and being a guest and
Thank
speaking
you.
to our audience. And
I
what
did
else?
want to say one thing though,
Go
too,
ahead.
that you can find all of my work, because I didn't get to say that, on the KS Media Group app, the new house.
That's right.
And Mina as well. We're both there. We're both founding members of that app, and that's been a part of the journey too. This last
Absolutely.
last
Yeah.
6
How could I
months.
have
Yeah.
forgotten that? Yes. KS Media Group app is in your Google or App Store. Um, there's many expert practitioners in the area of health and healing. You can download it and you're going to find a very content rich, but it's relevant content. We are literally moving and helping ourselves and our clients through this transformation process. So go ahead and download the app. And you know what, since we started the conversation again, what is your final thing, final couple of lines, an inspiration that you can share with our audience today?
Oh, wow. I would say to always take the time to listen to that quiet voice inside of you, and to start to have that conversation and explore and deepen that connection with your soul, because that will bring you the deepest love that you can know.
That's wonderful. So it's all inside, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to click and subscribe. And I look forward to hanging out with you next week. Thank you, Trish.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Igniting Change, Finding Your Fire. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And we look forward to being with you next week.